It's a Football Friday, WHIP Radio in Philadelphia, getting you ready for Super Bowl 49 out in Arizona between the Seattle Seahawks, the defending champs, and the New England Patriots, who have won 3 Super Bowls in their dynasty era. And now joining us on the hotline is a man that's in Arizona doing a sports talk show on sports radio WEEI with the MFB program, and that's former New England Patriot and Seattle Seahawk, 2-time Super Bowl champion Christian Fauria. Christian, Zach Gelb here in Philly. Thanks for a few minutes. How are you, my friend?
Oh, man, I am doing good, other than I can do without the rain right now that is in Arizona. You know, they promised us sun, they promised us warmth, and after dodging that huge snowstorm in New England, and then sure enough, it's raining here. Well, whatever. What are you going to do, right? You're at the Super Bowl. You have to.
Well, quit your bitching, because my flight was supposed to get on out there, and it got canceled on Tuesday, so I should be on Radio Row with you, and I'm not, and I'm sitting here in 20-degree weather, so stop complaining.
Yeah, I know. You know, it's funny that you sit there. It's all about perspective, right? I mean, listen, I'm bitching about, 60 degrees weather with rain, and they got people who still can't get out of their house because of the snow. All right, okay, my bad. I'm sorry.
Well, we only got 1 inch of snow here. The thing that really screwed me was I was leaving out of New York, and they got almost 2 feet of snow, so I just got screwed both ways.
Yeah. Well, you stop your bitching because you're talking to me now. This is great radio.
That's exactly right. And you also want to know what is also great radio? That's the persona that you developed, that prank phone call character, Christian in Foxborough. I've listened to that when you've called in rival teams' radio stations, whether it was Buffalo, Indianapolis, or Baltimore. How'd that whole thing come about where you'd be calling in all these stations?
It was just like we were playing the Pats were playing the Buffalo Bills, and we doing radio. We were slow, we were bored, we had nothing to do, right? I was like, let me just call a rival radio station and see if I can get through. Well, sure enough, not only did I get through, but they left me on for like 20 minutes, and I was running out of things to say. And I was being as obnoxious as I could with the worst Boston accent imaginable, and they were good with it. So I turned into a bit every now and then. We'll call the radio station up. We haven't got you guys yet because we love you. But other than that, though, dude, it's just trying to entertain people, right, and entertain ourselves.
When the station finds out, because people write about this on the internet whenever there's a prank phone call, hey, that was former Patriots tight end Christian Fauria who does a show up in Boston, do those producers or hosts ever call you back?
No, usually we have a thing on Friday we call Aloha Friday where we apologize for anything that we did wrong, or if we got in a fight with somebody on air. If we want to make amends, we never want to go into the weekend upset, right? So we usually, most of the time, the host calls. It's all in good fun. We're not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. We did have one guy, Dan Dockich, who was completely uptight, a complete a-hole. It turned it into like a major Twitter brawl, it just went back and forth, and we were battling. And other than that, though, most guys are pretty cool with it, because if somebody was to call our show and to do what I did to them, we would just let it go and let it roll. The fans love it, our listeners like it, it's entertaining, and it makes them laugh, so we're good either way.
Christian Fauria is our guest, 2-time Super Bowl champion, won it with the Pats up against the Carolina Panthers and the Philadelphia Eagles. I have to ask you did play for both Seattle and New England. You were drafted by Seattle and then won Super Bowls with the Patriots. How does playing for those two teams compare to each other?
Well, I tell you, when I played with Seattle, we weren't very good. We're playing in the Kingdome. We had stadium issues. They ended up tearing the Kingdome down. Played in Washington, at Husky Stadium. And there just wasn't really it wasn't like it is now, right? How it is now in Seattle, when you go play a road game in Seattle, I mean, it is like an experience, right? You can't hear, the fans are crazy. It's exactly what you want if you're a professional football player. It almost reminds you of college, right? Big-time college football. But, organizationally, once Paul Allen bought the team, you could tell things are going to change, right? And right now, I would say the two teams are pretty similar as far as their makeup, as far as how they decide they're going to draft talent, how they're going to develop it, what they want the personality of their team to be. They buy into their coach. I mean, great ownership for both teams, great management, GM management for both teams. Obviously, the coaches, even though Pete Carroll, I think, is completely different personality-wise than Bill, I think Pete is still just as, tough on his team and detail-oriented as Bill Belichick is. They just have different ways of going about it. And I played for Joe Gibbs, I played for Mike Holmgren, John Fox, and Bill Belichick, and all of them were extremely successful in the NFL, and every single coach had a different way of coaching his trying to get the most out of their players. And Pete has his way, and Bill has his way. Different, but I think in the end they both achieve the same goals.
The most impressive part about this Patriots run has just been the consistency, and it starts from when they won their first Super Bowl, now appearing in their sixth Super Bowl under Brady and Belichick, and you have guys that really embrace that mentality of a Patriot way. Hey, it's Bill's way or the highway. You look at a guy, they were able to replace Logan Mankins this year. They got off to a slow start, 2-2. They were able to find a way to get the job done. You've been in that locker room. When you first got to New England, they already won one Super Bowl. I know they did miss the playoffs in your first year, and then you guys go on to win two more. What is that Patriots way, if you were able to define it?
Well, it's so funny. Everybody, the Patriot way, the quote-unquote Patriots way, I feel like it's lost its meaning over the years. We have guys like Aaron Hernandez saying, oh, I just want, have the Patriot way. And it's like, no, he's completely missing the point. Here's what it is. And every team has this. They just do it differently, and some guys can achieve it, some teams can't. It's just being a professional. Like, take your job, because that's what it is. It's a job. Take it seriously. Come to work prepared. Take care of your body. Get rest. Put team first. Don't be selfish, right? I mean, all those things that make a team successful, and I think that's the most important thing when you're kind of referencing like what the Patriot way is. That's how I would describe it. I think most guys who I played with would describe it the same way. It's not very difficult, right? Bring your playbook to your meetings, sit in the front row, pay attention, take care of your body. I mean, really, that's what it's all about.
How many times in your career did you hear the words "do your job" from Bill Belichick?
Oh man, all the time, and it's so funny because when I was younger, they used to say other coaches would say that pretty much the same thing, where they would use different phrases and use different techniques. And one of the things was keep your house from burning down. Don't worry about your neighbor's house, right? And that's what my coaches said when I was in Seattle, and it basically meant the same thing. Like, listen, just do your job. Like, keep your house from burning down. Don't try and help the other guy do his job, because then you both will fail. You'll screw up your job, he'll screw up his job, then you guys will be pointing fingers at each other. I didn't need any help. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you just have to be accountable for what you do. And then in the end, if everybody is doing their job, it becomes one big long chain, and and that's where the success comes from, right? Because you can't have A without B and B without C, and so on and so forth. And I think ultimately, everybody wins that way. And it's hard though, because guys just want to do more and try and help out more, and sometimes they're not happy with just doing a little thing, like they're not happy with their role. But in the end, even the smallest job, even the guy who's on only special teams, has a huge role, right? Even in practice, and I think everybody who comes to the Patriots realizes that, and they buy into it.
Brady's the most diligent quarterback in the league. In my lifetime, I've never seen a quarterback that is more committed to winning than him, whether it's restructuring his contracts or just the little preparations that he really tries to perfect leading up to a football game. When you first got to New England, obviously no one thought Tom was going to end up being one of the best quarterbacks, if not the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. But when you first met number 12, what was your first impression of him?
Well, I mean, he was just really, I met him right after he won his first Super Bowl, so it was all kind of new and, fresh. And there was, just a young, energy about him, and almost like rah-rah college-y, right? And then most quarterbacks who come into the league, especially the veterans, don't have that, right? They're very just, sullen, they don't really scream a lot, they don't really get too excited, they're very composed. I played with Warren Moon. I don't think he ever, let his emotions, get out of hand at all. He was always very even keel. But Brady, he curses, he yells at you. He's pissed at himself when he messes up. He's excited when they win. He's just not afraid to be who he is. And I think ultimately, people respect that, man. They buy into that, and they rally around it. They get excited about it, right? And they want to be a part of it. And I think that's infectious. And at the same time, he holds you accountable for what you're supposed to do, and he holds it at a high level. So you can't come into a practice and, hey, I only studied, the first 5 questions, right? You need to know the entire test. You can't sit there and go, this is going to be the only one I don't look at, and then it comes up in the game, and he knows it and you don't. Then you got egg on your face. Now everybody's pissed at you. And he is going to know it, so he expects you to know. And I think I like that. I like being challenged, and I like somebody else who takes the job seriously. Not saying that other quarterbacks don't, because I play with Warren Moon also, and he took his job very seriously, but had a complete different way of going about it.
Christian Fauria is our guest. A few more questions with him from Sports Radio WEEI, two-time Super Bowl champion. Zach Gelb here with you, WHIP Radio in Philadelphia. This is the ultimate chess match. You have Tom Brady and his prolific passing offense in addition to LeGarrette Blount that helps sets up the play action, and he's been a beast in these playoffs, going up against the Legion of Boom. I know they're a little bit not as healthy as they would like to be, but how do you see this chess match playing out on Sunday?
There's so many storylines in this game, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just phenomenal how many storylines there are, and you mentioned one of them. When you talk about the chess matches between the coaches, right? Both defensive-minded guys, but extremely bright and knowledgeable. You have Bill with all the creative plays he's been showing in the last couple games of the postseason. You have Pete Carroll with the, not being afraid to call fake punts and, go for it on fourth down. And again, you have the two backs, the big backs. You have LeGarrette Blount, and you have Marshawn Lynch, and you got the young quarterback in Russell Wilson against the older, wily veteran, right, in Tom Brady. The two best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. I mean, unbelievable storylines. But the chess match, I think, is going to be slow and methodical. I mean, I think initially each team starts off with about 15 plays offensively that they kind of throw out there. And part of it is to try and see what the defense is going to do alignment-wise, and adjustment-wise based on a certain formation in a certain play. Knowing that later on in the late second quarter, third or fourth quarter, they'll run a complementary play off that certain formation and trying to catch the team sleeping, right, based on they already know what they're going to do. So again, it's going to be great. Like, I don't see it being a blowout by any means. I mean, the Seahawks, going back the last couple of years, I think they've only lost one game by 9 points or less, and that was to the San Diego Chargers this year. But usually, if they lose a game, it's 3 points, it's 7 points, it's 4 points. It's not a lot. They keep it close, and they try to win it on defense and play clean, safe football on offense.
Deflategate has been an enormous amount of the conversation this week in Arizona. It's a little bit unfortunate, especially with the way that these are the two best teams in the NFL. But Belichick, over his time, has done an incredible job getting his players to ignore the noise. How does you eliminate that distraction of a Deflategate? And how do you think the Pats have handled the job this week out in Arizona with talking about the Deflategate?
Well, I think they've done a great job. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. If you're a professional athlete, you have to be able to insulate yourself from the noise. If you allow all the outside activities to get the best of you and to influence, what you're thinking about or how you're going about your business, you will fail, and you will fail miserably in front of a million people. So you have to be able to compartmentalize your life and make sure that you don't let those things get the best of you, whether they're right or whether they're wrong. Right? When you step on the field, forget about your family, forget about, the dog not going out for a walk, not having any food in the fridge, whatever. Forget about it. You deal with the here and now. Once you walk off the field, you deal with all those outside influences that you have. But they've done a great job. And I think the Patriots, for the most part, have done an excellent job addressing it. Bill never addresses anything. Mr. Kraft never addresses anything unless he feels like he has to. Yeah, Bill with that impromptu press conference last Saturday, trying to act like Bill not a science guy. And a lot of people mocked him. They thought they were laughing at him. But I don't think they cared. I think that was more of a message to his team saying, listen, I'm sick of the noise. I need to go out publicly, defend you, let you know that I have your back, that I'm going to be your voice. Because he doesn't want the guys talking about it at all. It's not his players talking about it. So he addresses it. And then sure enough, here comes Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. He addresses it. He demands an apology if there's definitive evidence. So they have done everything they could to galvanize themselves. And let me tell you, the pregame speech that's going to happen Sunday is going to be monumental. I mean, historic. Like the storm New England just got. That's the way the pregame speech is going to be, because he's been saving it up. He's been saving his ammunition. He's been telling his team to calm down, don't talk about it, keep your poise, and then he's going to unleash a pregame speech on these guys. I look at the hair on the back of their neck standing up for the next 4 quarters. Okay, it's going to be epic.
I wish I could be in the locker room for that moment. Final one here with Christian Fauria, because I know you got to run. Defensively for the Pats, I've been really impressed with Browner, Revis, McCourty. That secondary has just been locked down. Is the game plan to stop the run first when going up against beast mode and this offense of the Seattle Seahawks?
I think you're going to need to. I mean, I don't think you necessarily stop Marshawn Lynch. I think the key is to slow him down. I don't think Marshawn Lynch rushes for over 100 yards. I think that's the first key. So you're gonna have, and they, they built that defense so they could play man defense, so they could allow an extra guy in the box, so they could allow if you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson to run around, you can blitz and still not be worried about your back end. That's the way that the defense was built. So yeah, I mean, and I think that's key. You focus on stopping him. But the next thing is you can't allow Russell Wilson to run all over the place, because him extending plays is just kryptonite for defenses, and he just has a knack, eerily as it sounds, to just get away from trouble, to find his way out and make plays downfield. And it is frustrating for a defense when you do everything right, and sure enough, a quarterback slips through somebody's fingers and throws the ball downfield, and instead of it being 4th and 18 and the team is punting, it's 1st and 10 at the 20. That's kind of what happened with Green Bay. They were rushing only 2 or 3 guys, playing coverage. Russell Wilson slips away, finds an open guy, and they first down. And next they have momentum, they have the edge, and the defense is frustrated. I mean, I'll tell you, this is going to be a fantastic game, man. I mean, the rating's going to be off the chain right now, and I think everyone should be just happy that we have a good game coming up.
Christian, you're the best. We appreciate the time. Do me a favor. Say hello to my friends Dale and Holly. We appreciate a few minutes, my friend.
All right, man. You're the best. Thanks, dude.